What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 541st episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I feel like I'm losing my voice recording so many podcasts. I'm your host, Steve. With me today is Bev.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Hello. And then we also have Bob here, first time on.
Excited to be here. So, welcome. I don't say welcome to your own podcast, Steve, but welcome to your podcast, Steve. Happy to be here.
No one's ever welcomed me.
See, I did it for you.
So we're recording this a little bit early because it is a holiday weekend and I am also traveling. So I think fingers crossed that there will be no Pokemon news this weekend. I mean, except for the Eevee stuff, the Eevee raids, but that was already announced. I don't think we're going to get a patch or anything. I mean, it'd be very cool if we got a patch. That would actually be great. But if this comes out on Monday and you're like, why didn't you cover this? It's because we're recording on a Wednesday night. So that's the plan here. And we're just going to go through this and kind of just get through the news. And we'll go from there. So we'll start with we'll just jump right into things. Oh, sorry. Before we jump into things, you're probably listening to this being like, oh, what if there's spoilers for the episode? There will be no Scarlet and Violet spoilers. Anything that was in trailers, like Belly Bolt, obviously that's fair game. Mela, fair game. But, don't worry about spoiling gym leaders or Elite Four or whatever else happens. We're saving that for the mini episodes. So if you want Scarlet and Violet stuff, the mini episodes, there should be 2 mini episodes already up in your podcast app, 2 more coming later this week, and then eventually we'll normalize that, get that into the other episodes. We just want people to be able to still listen to their Monday episodes, still get their Pokemon news, not stress about like, I'm not that far, or I haven't got the game yet. So we're going through the Pokemon news. So we'll kick off with Papa Niantic here, PokemonGoLive.com. Be the star of the Astral Eclipse event, which is starting on Wednesday, November 23rd. So it should be up and then goes until Monday, November 28th. You'll be able to evolve Solgaleo and Lunala based off of Cosmog into Cosmoem at night, and then Cosmog into Cosmoem during the day for Solgaleo. There will be a special research, and then they're reminding everyone very last minute that there is a Ultra Beast Arrival Global on Sunday, November 27th from 11:05. That should have already happened. Hopefully that was fun. It was fun. It was so great. I'm sure it was a delightful.
Amazing time for all.
Really loved it. And then there will be spawns happening, Lunatone, Solrock, Munna, all that stuff. More importantly, besides the avatar items they're having, how are you guys feeling about Pokemon Go recently? We can start with Bob.
One of the things I really liked about the Alola generation have been the Ultra Beasts. I feel like people just never really clicked with them, but I will say the promotion that Pokemon Go have been doing recently with all the Ultra Beasts have been fantastic. Like on Twitter and TikTok, I've been seeing all these AR videos of people in like Japan getting attacked by Ultra Beasts, and I love that. But not people getting attacked by Ultra Beasts, but I love the content. So the fact that we are getting more Ultra Beasts loved in Pokemon Go actually got me excited to play Pokemon Go again. There was a bit of a lull, especially from like the summertime with Go Fest, and then it kind of dipped a little bit. But as soon as I got Pheromosa coming into the game and then Buzzwole coming into the game, I've just been super excited just to hop in some raids, open up the app, spin a few Pokestops, catch a few Pokemon here and there. So I think I like these little events, but I think the promotional that they've been doing really sold it for me. So I'm just excited for what's coming up in the next few months with this.
Bev, I think the first time we met was Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago. Is that? Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds about right. That or PAX.
Yes.
I might have been PAX East.
It was either PAX or like the second Go Fest maybe. I'm not sure. I felt like you came out with a whole bunch of East people crew, like the East Coast crew. Yeah.
I didn't go to the first, I think, PAX that you went to. So how many PAX East have you gone to? Is it 2 or 3?
Let's see. I went to the one right before COVID destroyed the world, and then I went to the one after COVID was done, but that's not true still. But I went to that one, and then I think 4. I think I was there
Okay.
for the snowstorm
Then I
one
think I
too.
went. Okay, I was also there when you weren't there, when you were supposed to be there.
Oh,
But then,
yes. Yes, correct. That was when
so
I
yeah,
booked the wrong month, but the right days, just the wrong month. And then I hung out with Nick.
that's all that matters. The right days. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't really I kind of fell off Pokemon Go like right at the start of pandemic, and it's been a bit of a struggle for me to get back into it. Although, like Bob said, I love the Ultra Beasts. I feel like they're also like a very underappreciated like Pokemon from Sun and Moon. And I also just love Solgaleo and Lunala. So I would be very excited to get that into my Pokedex entry or whatever Pokedex, so I can complete that. Not that I'm doing such a great job of completing them.
Yeah, and then I think the new season is starting soon. Although let me double check here on Niantic's website. This Ultra Beast thing is really weird because again, we're recording before I'm going to the Ultra Beast thing in LA, and I'm just curious just how that's actually going to go because it's a holiday weekend, but also a free event. I think they could have gotten away with paying for it. Like, I feel like I had somebody, I had Steven from our Slack. He came into the Slack, he came into my Twitch, and he was like, "Hey, should I go to this? I love Pokemon Go. It's like a 6 hour drive." And I was like, "What if you get there and like they're full because it's first come first serve?" And like, what if you leave at
Oh
8 a.m.
goodness.
You get in at like 2 p.m. and again line around the block and they're cutting people off. Like, I almost feel like if the ticket was just $20, that's a lot, but at least you're securing your place so you know that. And it's LA, right? Like 5 miles in LA is like 17 hours because of traffic. So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So there's like no guarantee that you actually get there on time.
right. So I was like, if I were you, I probably would not head out because you have no guaranteed spot. But well, I guess we'll see. I've always liked Niantic's real world events and stuff. But again, LA holiday weekend. I don't know if they said limited capacity. I don't know if that's 1,000 people or 10,000 people or I have no clue. But
Well, I feel like people usually leave cities like for holidays, so it could be less crowded than usual, but I'm just guesstimating there. And unlike Bob, I like Ultra Beast attacking people, so if that's like a feature, that would be cool to watch.
That would be cool. But I would say I think Niantic should not be afraid to do more of these premium events. Like I think people would be willing to spend $10, maybe 15 possibly. We've seen it with Go Fest. I think if you make this a premium event during a weekend when most people may not be available because they're with families and listening to their family members talk a lot. This would be a great opportunity for them to leave the house and catch some Pokemon. I mean, LA is just it's busy no matter when you go. You have
mhm.
traffic, you have LAX, and even if you're trying to leave on a Sunday, like I would be upset. To your point, Steve, I would be upset if I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drive 4 or 5 hours, fly even to this event and realize, oh, sorry, you're out of luck. You have to play now on the streets of LA. You can't come in here. It's like, oh, well, that's fun.
Hmm.
So I like the idea of doing more premium events to guarantee a spot, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
Or
I
even
mean,
do like a
like,
hybrid thing. Like what if they did like a first 100 people guaranteed spots if you pay $10 and then the rest is free? Because then at least like if you get into that spot, you'll know that it's worth the 6 hour drive because you're definitely gonna
yeah.
make it in.
I think there's also a good way to like check demand
Yeah.
of like how many tickets are we selling. I mean, I believe they told me that this is a 2 hour event. I think it starts at 6 or 7 and it goes till 8 or 9. And again, they didn't say what the venue capacity was, but an 8-hour event like a Safari Zone. Maybe those are like 6 hours. That's like a $25 experience. So yeah, I think I hate to be the one that's like advocating for Niantic to charge money for an event, because I do think a lot of the games should be free, but in a situation where you may be traveling and not know if you get a ticket or not, I think in that situation I would rather spend the $10 to know I have a seat than to like show up and wait in line all day. I've waited in lines as a teenager for concerts and other stuff. It's never worth it.
It's not, but what Beth just said is creating a hybrid experience. Like, yes, you can make the event available to anyone who can. You're just adding another layer to the experience, saying, hey, you know what? It's free for everybody. No matter where you are, you can get the same exact rewards, possibly, or the same experience. But we have this other layer. It's almost like a tier menu. I feel like you can go to the next level and say, hey, for X amount of dollars, come see us. We'll give you X, Y, and Z on top of it. So it's not like you're really missing out on what the event is offering. You're just having the opportunity to get a different experience because you are actually paying for it and you've guaranteed the spot. But no, I definitely understand what you're saying. And yeah, winning in lines is so overrated. I've been to 2 concerts in my life. I'm never doing it again. So yeah.
I don't know. I spent a lot of summers in Disney World, so I'm just very used to lines at this point. So I would do it. I don't know about driving 6 hours to wait in a line, but I would definitely do it.
Some other mobile news here is, well, actually, let's skip that. Speaking of selling out, the Squishmallows sold out. I'm not sure if either of you are Squishmallow fans. I talked about last week how, well, I don't know if you can see in the YouTube video, it might be cut off, but Pokemon sent me a Squishmallow. Bobby was right. He predicted they were going to be $30, probably because he's a secret Squishmallow collector, I would imagine.
He owns stock in it, I think.
They did end up being 30, and they sold out pretty much instantly. Like, I think the tweet went up, and then if you didn't click that tweet within 15-20 minutes, they were gone.
I was at work, Steve, and I couldn't get my Squishmallow because I am working in an office, and I'm like, oh, I saw the tweet like 30 minutes too late, and they was sold out, and I felt dead inside.
Bev, you got. I know you got a secret Squishmallow collection behind you, don't you?
Well, not behind me, but I do. I actually bought a Palico, I think this past week last week in Target, and I was very, very excited to find it. And I have a couple like Mario shells of Squishmallows and one red panda fox. So I'm starting to form a little collection. And I wasn't initially, I think, intrigued by these, but then I looked at Gengar and saw that it has like a little dragon back. And now I want it.
I had no idea they have a Mario Squishmallow.
Oh, do they?
Mario show?
Is this like the new Funko? Have we moved on from Funko? We're just in Squishmallow now.
All these brands. I have one like generic dragon Squishmallow that I got from Target as well. It's on our bed and it's so comfortable to hold. Like, it's so soft and I rest my head on it. So as soon as I saw Pikachu and Gengar, I think Gengar sold out first, actually, because I think the Gengar one looks amazing, and I think I would love to get that if it gets back in stock. But I can't wait for the second wave to come through so I can pick one up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
have like the little like one up marshmallow or mushroom. Sorry, mushroom. Squish mushroom.
Ooh,
I can't.
Yeah, I would imagine they would do a wave 2 or wave 3 just based on. Do they hate money? Like, I feel like it's so easy to move these. They moved them very quickly. Before, what do we have for time here? Okay. I don't know if either of you play Pokemon Masters, but there is a new event happening called the 3 Eevee Tales. Eevee is popular, so this event is a special Eevee Day celebration. Actually, I'm lining up with the Scarlet and Violet stuff. Eevee Day celebration that will allow players to get special sync pairs featuring Eevee evolutions and earn items to power them up. It also introduced the sync pairs for Lucas and Flareon, Chris and Jolteon, and Lyra and Vaporeon. And then we have the Scarlet and Violet Eevee raid weekend, which I'm sure is just going to be a bunch of EVs and randomized Tera types would be my guess.
I haven't played Masters
Yeah, I
a
picked
lot.
it back up recently.
Are you liking
Go
it?
ahead. It's
The heavy
I think it's kind
sigh.
of like what
I picked it back
I
up.
just get overwhelmed. Like I like the idea of it. I enjoyed very much playing it in the early stages, but like having 20 different events going on at the same time, like I only have so much stamina, and I only pick up this game maybe like once a day, and I have to pick which event I want to do, but the completionist in me wants to do them all, and then I get like really sucked into like, oh, I need to like do meta and like get really
Mhm.
good at like upgrading and getting all the right sync pairs, and then I get burnt out and then I stop.
Yeah.
This is my cycle with masters.
Yeah.
I I go in waves because when events like these drop, I usually just open up the app for a couple of days, get some free gems, see if I got gems from the game itself. And, I do a few pulls because I really for this game, I just like pulling just characters I like. So if I know I like, hey, I know this character's coming to Masters, I just want it for my collection. I mean, and then for battling, I just on auto battling just to get through some of the stories. But I feel like the last time I checked the game was when they rolled out the friendship ability, so you can like
Oh, the
talk to
dating
people.
simulator.
I think I'm trying to get become good friends with I think Cynthia, I believe. But other than that, it's just that I fail at making friends, Steve. I'm not making good friends in this game, so I
Yeah.
don't know what's wrong with me.
It is a game.
Cynthia is
It is
definitely a good goal.
it's a good goal, yeah.
I didn't have this in the notes, but to the three people out there playing Pokemon Cafe Mix, there's an event there. Unfortunately, not an Eevee event. It is a Farfetch event. So maybe Bobby will get into Pokemon Cafe Mix. This event will be adding Farfetch, which is obtained by earning points with members in your team. That event runs until November 28th. I lied. They are also adding a special costume in the delivery feature, which is a festive Sylveon. So there you go. They're still hitting their EV quota like the other games are.
They have to hit it because
Yeah.
Eevee, I heard it's pretty popular. So three games spread it out. I'm sure they'll hit some audience there. So I'm confident in
Hmm.
Pokemon. Yeah.
I obviously when the episode goes up, the EV raid weekend will be over. I'm curious though, before we jump to break, if you guys enjoy the Tera raids themselves, just as a whole. Obviously, there's a lot of different Pokemon. It's going to be EV this weekend or this past weekend. I don't know if you guys have tried those at all, or if you did a lot of raids in Sword and Shield, and maybe you like Sword and Shield better, maybe you like Dynamax Adventure better. I don't know, maybe you like the Pogo raids better. I don't know
I'm
where do you guys stand on that?
I'm laughing because first of all, I love the new Terror raids in Scarlet and Violet. I think they are definitely a improvement over Sword and Shield. By that I mean it's real time. Like when they advertised when we first saw the trailers, it's like, oh yeah, in real time, you having your commands, you can heal, you can do all these actions, and that's what it is. And there were times where I did like my input for my attack, and I was still in the Sword and Shield mindset where I just sat back for like 5 minutes, and I realized, oh my god, I'm almost dead here. I forgot to put another move in because I forgot it's real time. So it really goes much faster, and I've been liking just doing those because they are snappier. You get through a lot more quickly. Um, I'm curious to know. I know the game just came out, but I wonder in the future if they're going to like expand upon it, where you have like a den-like environment where we had Dynamax Adventures. I know that that's probably like way out in the future, but for now, I've been pretty happy with doing Terror raids, and they've been lots of fun.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the Terror raids. They're so much better, in my opinion, than the Sword and Shield ones. Sword and Shield was just such It was just a struggle to get through, especially during the raid event or the different raid events. Like, oh, I have to go hunt like for Milcery now and like take 20 minutes to like do 5 raids.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely enjoying the new aspect of it, and it just it definitely feels a lot more interactive, and it almost feels like the Pokemon Go raid where like you're all kind of doing it together at the same time, like, but it's better in that we're not just like viciously tapping our phones.
Exactly. And I like because it's not just offensive you worry about. Like you can actually have someone on your team. You can say, hey, your goal is to heal us. Your goal is to give us that boost. So you can actually go into these with more strategy. Like actually have a team together and strategize saying, hey, this is a 5-6 star raid. We'll make it swamped. We may die a lot because you get penalized if you faint in these raids. Like you lose time on your clock. So I think if you have one person who's like focusing on healing and giving you that boost, I think it has more strategy and more involvement to what you said, Bev. Instead of just tapping the screen at the screen, get my boosted move, but now you actually have to say, okay, maybe instead of attacking, I'll be more defensive and heal my colleagues within the battle.
Yeah, I'm curious if they underestimated the popularity of raids or just how hard trainers will go into raids because like what a 5-star raid ended up being like level 65 or something and I don't think there was really, besides like the Mewtwo or the Zeraora and maybe like some of the Urshifu raids, like there wasn't really a huge challenge at a certain point in those games. Obviously, like maybe when you start playing and you don't have strong Pokemon. I don't know if you guys have tried a 5-star in this one, but they're like closer to like level 75, and a 6-star is like closer to like 85. With, they said that when Charizard comes, it would be like level 100. So 7-star raid should be level 100. But like I even struggled with 4-star raids, and I did a 5-star raid for a new Pokemon. And I was maybe level 30, or I was maybe level 40. So, and everyone else was the appropriate level because they were like, "Oh, we'll hard carry me." I was like, "Great, yeah, let's get carried here.
No pressure.
I'm here for it. I just want to catch it. No big deal." And I did the defensive thing. I knew it was obvious after attacking once. I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing damage." Like this, like I'll hit the cheer button. Like, don't worry, guys. I'll heal you. I'll boost your attacks. And it didn't work. Like I kept getting targeted, and every time I died, the clock went down, and we failed out. And it's funny, and maybe it's just because the game is so new, but how difficult these can be versus what seemed like just a complete cakewalk with the normal raids and Sword and Shield. Like again, I feel like they were like, oh, maybe our players do know what they're doing, and they just don't want to hit like the hydro pump button over and over again.
I did a 5-star for the first time, I think, last night, and it wiped us. I just sat there going, I'm just going to accept that I'm going to lose here because it still had, I think, half the health, and then it was maybe like 10 seconds left. So at that point, I'm like, just going in brute force is not going to work in a lot of these raids. So when we get those 7-star raids coming with like Charizard, I don't know what the ideal level is going to be, but I feel like you really need to be on your A game here. And I actually like this because I know over the years, people are like, oh, Pokemon games, we need to have some difficulty, and then we can kind of argue and say, well, you make the game as difficult as you want because you can choose how you play the game. But this feature actually was the first time in a while where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. Am I just dumb? Is my 25 plus years of Pokemon experience just down the drain?
Well, I remember the Mewtwo raids were some of, when I was doing raids with the community, and we would do, I don't know, like a Gigantamax Lapras, and you'd have 3 people bring in like a Zacian or something, and then one person would bring in like a Sinistea, and it's like no big deal, right? We'll still get it, not that big of a deal. They just want to flex their Sinistea, cool, whatever. And then with the Mewtwo, you couldn't do that. When Mewtwo came out in Sword and Shield, you just couldn't do that, and it was like it was like a puzzle to figure out, okay, well, if I bring this Pokemon and you bring this Pokemon, should we be able to do it? I think the secret to Mewtwo is if one person had like a Marshadow, because of Marshadow's move Spectral Thief, it made it significantly easier to do Mewtwo. And I wonder if that's like the Charizard thing. Like, because I have this Pokemon with this Tera type, Charizard's going to be easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm curious as we go into week 2 of Scarlet and Violet if people are just going to figure out like these are the 3 best Pokemon for all raids, or this is the best Tera type, or I don't think that's going to be the case. But at a certain point in Sword and Shield, you could probably get away bringing Zacian into most things and be okay, unless it was like fire or something.
Yeah, I kind of hope it doesn't get to the point where it's just the same 3 Pokemon, because it did get a little boring just to see like everyone bringing in a Zacian into this raid. I personally haven't gotten to the 5-star raids yet, but I did lose a 3-star raid today because I misjudged what typing my Pokemon was, and I just kept getting one shot. It's like, oh, this is great. I don't think I've ever lost a 3-star raid before in Sword and Shield, so yeah, I think I'm definitely saying the difficulty factor has definitely increased.
Yeah. Okay. Let's I think this is perfect time to take a break. When we get back from our break, we're going to talk about some sales numbers, because it seems like the games sold pretty well here. And also there were some awards, and a Legends Arceus won an award, and people are upset it won an award, but that's fine. That's okay. They're mad it wasn't Xenoblade. That's the too long didn't read there. So we will be right back. And we are back from our break. Let's start off with NintendoLife.com. Pokemon Arceus, Legends Arceus, crowned Nintendo Game of the Year at the Golden Joystick Awards. Apparently, this is the 40th Golden Joystick Awards. And they have the list of games that won here. I'm not sure if this was like streamed or if this was just like a thing that they put out. But let's go through all the games, because there's a lot of games on here. And maybe you're looking for something for Black Friday or, Christmas. So the best storytelling went to Horizon Forbidden West. Best Playing Award, Genshin Impact. I still have not played that game. Best Visual Design, Elden Ring. Studio of the Year, From Software. They make Elden Ring. Best Game Expansion, Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course. Best Early Access Launch, Slime Rancher 2. I felt like that game came out like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Best Indie Game, Cult of the Lamb. I want to play that. Best Multiplayer Game,
Good.
Elden Ring. Best Audio, Metal, Hellsinger. Best Game Trailer, Goat Simulator 3 Announcement Trailer. That's an award.
Like, apparently.
Best Game Community. It's not Pokemon. Final Fantasy 14. Which they got to win something every year. Best Gaming Hardware, the Steam Deck, not to be confused with the Stream Deck. Breakthrough Award, Vampire Survivors, which I did buy that. It's like a $3 game. Haven't played it yet, though. Looks good. Critics' Choice, Elden Ring. Best Performer, Manon Gage from they play Marissa in Immortality. Unsure of that. Nintendo Game of the Year. There it is. Pokemon Legends Arceus. PC Game of the Year, Return to Monkey Island. PlayStation Game of the Year, Stray.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yeah, same. Love it.
Xbox Game of the Year, Grounded. Most Wanted Game, Legends of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. And then the ultimate game of the year, is Elden Ring.
Yeah, I think, 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 I think,
So on there a lot. I believe the other games for Nintendo were Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Xenoblade, Splatoon 3, and then Pokemon. Let me see if I feel like I'm missing a game there.
Live a
Live a
live.
Live, yeah,
Yeah.
and Nintendo Switch Sports. Which did the Switch have slim pickings this year?
Apparently, it must have been a tough year for Nintendo, it looks like.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this
Um,
game came out in January. Like it feels forever that
Oh, wow.
we've played Arceus.
yeah, January 28th, I think. Something like that. So yeah, the internet was mad. Splatoon 3 players in shambles. I've only heard good things about Xenoblade, but also I don't. That's like the 40 people out there that bought Xenoblade. I'm sure there's more. I've just never been a Xenoblade fan.
Same.
It just I don't know. It's never appealed to me. Kirby to me has never felt like a game of the year kind of game. Kirby's just always felt like this, like, yeah, it's cute, it's great, comes out every 2 to 3 years, people like it, they
But
put it
this
down
one,
really
yeah,
quickly.
but I think this one that came out, because, and I will say that was my first, this is true, my first Kirby game I ever played was that Forbidden Island game, and it felt really good. Like it had some nice twists to it. I felt like it was not a traditional Kirby game. Like it had like the core of the charm behind it, I would say. But it felt really like a fun game to play. Like I finished it in a couple of days, and I loved it. So happy
That's
to.
what I heard about it. It's kind of like Legend of the Breath of the Wild, where if it's the first like thing you've played, you're not going to want to play other Kirby games just because it's so good. I
Yep,
also haven't played Kirby games, so I want to play that eventually.
highly recommend. I think you'll love it.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about this exhaustively on the show. Legends is not a very pretty game. um, Especially compared to some of the games on the list. I'm not a huge Splatoon person. Full disclosure, Nintendo did send me a free copy of Splatoon 3. Looks great, feels great. I just can't, like, Splatoon's fine. I don't think it's a bad game by any means. I wish I liked it more. I just don't. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't think it's my type of game. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what their look. I'm not upset. Legends won. I think it's a great game. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I would recommend it to any Pokemon fan easily. I would
Yeah.
recommend it to somebody who is just looking for a Switch game who may have dabbled in Pokemon, but I wouldn't sugarcoat that. It's not the prettiest Switch game. The draw distance isn't super great, but I think
Yeah.
the gameplay loop that game offers is fantastic. Also, I guess maybe I wouldn't tell the one main reason I wouldn't recommend it to somebody is if they said, like, man, I love battling Pokemon. Be like, this is there ain't no trainer battles in this game, man. You gotta
I
love catching Pokemon.
Yeah.
I actually still and I had a coworker of mine was like, hey, I want to get a Pokemon game for my son, like his first Pokemon game on the Switch. What do I get? And immediately I said, you get Let's Go. Like I still recommend Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee as like the first Pokemon game on the Switch, because if you want that traditional Pokemon experience like you may have played before, that's still a great game. I think with Arceus, what I liked about it, and maybe it's probably criteria why it won, was that it tried something new with the formula, or it kind of like took a step back and said, hey, you know what? Let's offer another type of Pokemon experience to those who may not be into the whole like get the gym badges, battle trainers, because we know in this game, like you said, Steve, there's like 6 battles. Like you battle 6 people or one person 5 times, but a lot of it's just you just catch Pokemon. It has that let's go feeling that you try to get people like with the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, people playing Pokemon Go, say, hey, you just like catching Pokemon, here's a game for you. And I think that's why Arceus, I like it, because it's just a different formula with the Pokemon company.
Yeah, and I took the same region and just gave it a whole new spin, which I really enjoyed. I hope they do this with a lot of some of the other gens, some of the other regions. I would love to go back and learn about either like different lore, or meet new people, or meet like the ancestors of people we already know, like Cynthia's great I don't know.
She has like 5 ancestors, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Every game going forward. This is Cynthia's aunt, her grandma, her grandma's
Yeah.
grandma, her father's second cousin,
Exactly.
twice
We need
removed.
more Cynthia
Just
family.
Yes.
Just need to know her whole family. The next game, Pokemon Legends Cynthia's Family Tree, coming soon.
I was gonna say like Pokemon like the DNA test. Oh yeah, you're related to Cynthia somehow in these games because it goes back way far.
They could
Yeah,
do like the
I mean,
one
like,
character. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You go ahead.
I was gonna say they could do like the one like time loop like gimmick where like you go back in time and it's like the same actor who's playing the same, like they look exactly the same. So we'll do that, but with Cynthia.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously graphics are not the only thing that these games are judged on. I feel like with all the conversations around Scarlet and Violet, and even around Legends Arceus, it's I think totally fair to be like, hey, this game looks ugly, this game looks muddy, hey, it's a little chunky, but there are other things that go into the game. I think going into the next article we're about to read. Why Pokemon games are still sell well regardless of them looking bad recently is they have a great gameplay loop, and another thing not talked about is like they've been really knocking it out of the park with the music the last couple of games as well. So yeah, I first thing that comes to mind is Arceus is probably the ugliest game on this list visually.
I agree, 100% agree. Yep.
But yeah, I don't know what their criteria for judging here is, but I don't know. I know Xenoblade is like a JRPG. I know you level up. I know you have a crew. I know you battle giant monsters. I know people tout that game looks very good. I know Kirby's an action adventure game. I know Splatoon is your action shooter, not really a shooter, third person adventure shooter. It is still a shooter. I still don't know why Nintendo Switch Sports was on here. What a disappointing game. Nintendo did not send that one to me for free. I bought that one with my own money.
Oh no! I played 3 games of bowling, and I think that's the extent of my Nintendo Switch Sports experience so far.
I have not tried it. I want to because of the Wii Sports nostalgia, but just from what I've heard, no thanks.
Yeah, the nostalgia only lasted about a solid hour for me, and then I was like, move on.
Yep.
This article came out right before we started recording. This is off Polygon.com. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sell 10 million copies in spite of performance complaints. Well, I mean, other articles just said they sold 10 million copies, but let's not sugarcoat it. Nintendo said it was the highest global sale level on any of the company's consoles in the first 3 days since launch. Nintendo said Wednesday that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold more than 10 million copies within the first 3 days. The games were released November 18th and since have reached, quote, the highest global sales level for any software on any Nintendo platform within the first 3 days. In spite of this launch, there has been a number of serious performance and graphical issues that Polygon has listed. It's been a major record-breaking release for Nintendo with surpassing a huge launch with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Trees could not hold that game behind. The Pokemon Company's 8th generation games sold 6 million copies over the launch weekend. They say weekend. I'm assuming they're comparing it to, again, the first 3 days, but because Friday, Saturday, Sunday. With record-breaking sales, however, the Pokemon Company seems to have one of its buggiest launches yet. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet launched with Pokemon and NPC pop-ins, frame rate issues, and character and Pokemon clipping through the world. And I can't remember. I have remembered video games where like they'll do side-by-side comparisons and they'll show like behind. I think maybe Cyberpunk was probably actually the last game where people were like, "This game is terribly broken." Here, but I can't remember a Nintendo game they've done that too. But yes, like Digital Foundry, IGN, they all had very intensive reviews of this game is running very poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was, at least in my circles, being a content creator, streaming the game the weekend of Twitch, it's kind of all I heard.
Yep.
But at the same time, I can't stop playing it.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's good despite the bugs. And I did click on this link to watch all the videos, and they're all hilarious.
Oh, the bugs?
Yeah. My favorite was the last one with like the giant Delibird.
I think the bugs also, and like we mentioned before, like, it has bugs, it has the glitches, it has the frame rate issues, but I think the charm of the game is still there. I'm laughing a lot at seeing some of these bugs happen, but to see what you just said, I can't stop playing this game. I just still love exploring Paldea. I love going in an open field, finding a bunch of Pokemon, battling them, catching them. I still think the character representation in this game is fantastic. Like, you have, different backgrounds, different races, different body types. It's absolutely great with what Game Freak did with that. It's unfortunate that, yes, you have these issues popping up, but I think the charm of the game is still there. And I do believe this is fixable. The question is, when do you think we'll get this fixed? Do you think, will we get something coming out before Christmas when a bunch of these people may get this as a gift, possibly?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that I think every game is rushed. I think every game has a deadline. Every game has to go out the door. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast. I've talked a lot this week. I've streamed 60 hours and I've recorded 5 shows, so I'm not sure what I've said where. But I used to work on websites before I moved into content creation, and we would have the big boss who didn't understand how websites worked because he didn't go to school for that or learn that, and he would be like, "I want this brand new website by December," and I was like, "That's not enough time," and he was like, "Go get it done." I was like, "Okay." Because what else am I going to do? Just quit? I just need the paycheck. And he would be like, "I want these 8 things." And you'd have to be like, if you want this done, I can do 6 of these.
Yeah.
And I can't do all of them. And, when you get closer to launch, you realize there's just me. There's just me and one other guy working on this website. We probably could have got 6 of the 8 done if you hired 2 more people, but you didn't. So now we can only get 5 of the things done. And at least in my situation, and I don't know if this I don't know if this is relatable to game development. They always wanted something new too. I remember we were launching a website a month before Black Friday, and they were like, "We want a rewards program," and I was like, "I've never implemented this. I got to teach myself how to do this. I got to install it. We already building a new website from pretty much scratch because we moved platforms," and I was like, this is not something you roll out a month before Black Friday. In no way. Because if it breaks, you're just destroying your own sales. No one's going to come to the website and try to shop if anyways. I don't think there has been a single website I ever launched in the 6+ years I was doing that job that didn't feel like we got to get this out the door, and these 4 things are broken, but we will fix them after the fact. They're not as broken as the website will still work. These ain't gonna be done in time, and
it's no, but you're exactly right. So in my day job, I'm a software developer, and I understand these. It's easy to say I want this request, but the work that is involved to get the request to what we call prod, to production, to live, for you to see it has to go through extensive training. We do automated testing. We do QA, behind a staging environment, so people can see, hey, this is what it looks like if we push it live. Oh, we found 3 more bugs. Okay, now let's go back and fix that. So to your point, you're exactly right, is that the process is so meticulous because you may think a request is easy, get a website up, but there's so much stuff under that iceberg, underneath the surface of the water, that goes on behind the scenes. And I feel like with this example with Scarlet and Violet, I'm sure there was some stuff that was missed in QA. I'm sure that they wanted to get some features out, or they added something in the last minute. They may have missed a checkbox on their Excel spreadsheet that says, "Hey, did you check for this?" And maybe they didn't check it. So, and those mistakes do happen, and you can go back and fix it. But I feel like to set that expectation forward is that it does take time to roll out like releases. Like my company launched a brand new website. It took over 2.5 years. Now again, COVID didn't help, but at the same time, there was so many things we had to plan for ahead of time and do quality testing, and bugs still pop up, but we can address them faster because now we have a product that's out there that's working. So yeah, I wish there was more time with this, but to your point, Steve, there's someone at the top saying, here's the date. Get it out.
See, that's like the opposite of how it works in the government. You'll have like the politicals saying, we want this by the end of this week, and we're like, no, it's going to take 2 years. And they have no say, and it's just going to take that long, and we're just going to push the date back, and they just going to have to be happy with it. So maybe Pokemon needs to start acting like a government and being like, no, we're going to take as long as we need to, because there's so much red tape and so many levels of review that needs to go to.
Government Pikachu, I'm here for it.
and I'm not going to sit here and defend Game Freak or the Pokemon Company or Nintendo. I understand what's happening. I think a lot of people do, especially if they listen to the show. The problem with delaying the game 6 months, or which I think they should, for the record, or delay it somehow, is Pokemon, unlike other franchises, run on this huge machine that is the anime, that is the TCG, that is their merchandise. And if you delay your game 6 months and your anime starts, your Paldea anime starts, that's weird because no one's playing that game. Or if your Paldea cards are coming out 3 months before the game came out, that's also weird. Again, not trying to defend, but I think there is like an artificial deadline that they worked themselves into, and maybe there is like a boss up there being like, hey, maybe can we get another month or two? And it's just, no, we can't, because like we've worked ourselves into TCG sets every 3 months in the US, every month in Japan. Anime starts here, ends here. We take like a month off for summer. Like there's just so many things happening. And I don't know what the aftermath is. Like, are they working on DLC? People are saying yes. The original data miners are like, yep, there's all this foundation for DLC. There's things in the game that hints for DLC. For the sake of clothing alone, we can only hope that DLC will let us change the clothing. But if the DLC was planned as fast as the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, I don't think there's a single Pokemon fan out there that wouldn't be like, I'm okay waiting. Can we just fix what we have here first? Because what you have here there's something special here. And I want to continue playing this game for 3 years. And right now it can be tough. I know some people, they don't care about any of the issues. Totally cool. Respect that. I, as a day one Destiny player, I powered through every day of that game, and people were like, "There's too many issues. I'm not playing Destiny." A bunch of people came back for the Taken King, and I was like, "Destiny was good the whole time." But look, I know it wasn't. I understood, but I loved that gameplay loop. Maybe I just like bad games. I think the real shocking thing too is like seeing Scarlet and Violet side by side against Arceus, and just how much better Arceus looks. It's really jarring that, because we literally started the started this episode being like, yeah, Arceus is ugly, but it looks so much better than Scarlet and Violet. That's not to say I think Scarlet and Violet has a couple moments of being very pretty, but those moments are far and few between when you're strutting through the desert trying to like find a Silicobra.
I meant to ask you, what's your thoughts on the water? I haven't heard you take on the water in this game yet.
It's okay. I like how they have a reflection now. That's pretty good.
It's liquid. That's good.
It's
liquid.
moving.
It's moving.
I think the rocks have a more liquid quality than the water. Have you seen the rocks just kind of like wave in and out a little bit?
I will say the Terra Ray dens, they're pretty looking. I think they did a good job with the crystallization of the terrestrializing crowns and the Pokemon itself. And if you're in a Ray den, it's really sparkly and it has that luxury feel coming off of it. And like to your point, Steve, yeah, parts of these games they look great. If you have the right angle with the sun coming in during battle, you have that glare coming in. The blue sky, the sweeping, the grass is sweeping. It looks really nice. But I'm glad you mentioned Arceus because, and even I was just thinking about this the other day, and I may boot up Sword and Shield. I don't recall a lot of issues like this, even in Sword and Shield, like from the get go. Yeah, there was some issues with frame rate stuff in like the wild area, especially if you're online and people are, coming in to join you. But I didn't remember a lot of that even in that game.
I remember just the wild area being a huge slog the first week or so of that game, and I want to say that there was like something where like maybe they put out an update, or I don't remember. I mean, I probably talked about it at some point, but it felt like everyone complained about the wild area chugging and being slow that first 2, maybe even 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden maybe we all just got so numb to it, but I felt like there was like a clicking point where it's like, oh, the wild area runs better all of a sudden. But maybe again, maybe I'm just blinded by big papa Pokemon in that sense.
I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely be okay with waiting until they get this done before we get DLC, because it doesn't make any sense to add more to an already really glitchy thing. And maybe that's their fix is with the whole like scheduling thing, like they can introduce a new region within a region and then build an anime around the DLC. And I feel like there's definitely things they can do to adjust that to lengthen the time between games, but I don't know. Even despite all these glitches, like y'all have said, I've enjoyed it. The raid dens are beautiful. The roaming Tera Pokemon is awful. When they terrestrialize and the little sparkly grass is just terrible.
Yeah, I said this, the first day I played the game. Like, the only reason it's hard for me to recommend this game is because I felt that people have been burned on Pokemon in one way or another, whether it's too easy, whether it's too linear, whether it's too glitchy, whether the trees weren't good enough, whether it was the national dex. I felt like there have been a lot of players that have been burned on Pokemon one way or another. And if they're asking if this is the game they should come back to, that is hard for me to say yes to, because I just don't want to see them burned again. When you get burned twice, probably not going to give the game a third chance. So if they were to do a big update and patch falling through the ground, patch the chugginess, patch the little weird Pokeball that appears in the doorway that starts following you around like a ghost. Like, I don't know if you've seen that. That one usually only happens. Yeah, that was weird. It would be easier to recommend because I do think the loop of the game itself is good. And the one thing we haven't talked about, I think, on any of the episodes is that the co-op actually works, and it works pretty well. Like, you would think that connecting with 4 other people in this huge open world that is already buggy and is already frame ratey and is already pretty ugly, you would think that, like, oh, I'm going down from 15 frames to 10 frames because, like, 4 other people in my world. But surprisingly, that works incredibly well. And having other people in your world is, like, it's a novelty. I don't know if it's going to be, like, must play it this way all the time. But that was also, like, it reminded me of Destiny. Again, the novel, like, I would get from my 9 to 5 job, I would get off work where I was making websites. I would sit down, and within like an hour, Will would jump on, and then somebody else would jump on, and we would ride our sparrows through Destiny collecting materials because we enjoyed that gameplay loop, and we enjoyed play. And it wasn't like we didn't need to be together. Like, there was really no benefit to like picking up items off the ground together, but it was still like that immersion of us in the same world. and I'm shocked that the co-op doesn't destroy this game even more. So they did something right there. And what I said last week, what I played in New York for an hour ran super smooth. I thought it looked better than Legends, but now that I'm seeing these side by side, I'm like second guess. I feel like the Pokemon Company is gaslighting me into like, did I actually play something that great in New York? Was it actually a different game? But yeah, like I think everyone hopes they fix this in some capacity. I mean, they sold 10 million copies, so.
I would say like it's like bad PR is good PR. Like people posting all these glitches and stuff is just I feel like yes, it's giving more buzz to the game, but to your point, Steve, it's like now the question is like the real question is, do you recommend this game? And and I'm at the same point where you are. I go, it's a fun game. If you're a Pokemon fan, you played every single Pokemon game, and you enjoy Pokemon for what it is, and you can look past those issues. I'm sure you'll find a nice thing in this game to enjoy. But if you're someone, because with this game, with the whole way they have those three storylines split out, is they're trying to say, hey, if you are new to the game, we have this the gym battle. Or if you want the gym battle line, and because you like traditional games, you can do this. Or if you want something different, you can do Titans, or you can do a Team Star route. And I think if you're coming to this game not playing Pokemon in a while, it's very difficult to recommend. Like I might just say again, go play Arceus, go play Let's Go. I mean, those are really solid. Honestly, go play Sword and Shield also, because those are solid games. It's just something about this game in the initial weekend, it just felt unfinished. And to your point, I hope that someone is working on some patch before the end of the year, before we even think about that, like Bev said, before we even think about DLC. Take care of the problems first, polish that up, make us enjoy it, and then give us the new icing on the cake later on in the next 2 to 3 year or more lifespan of the game.
I feel like I'm going to play devil's advocate and say, if you are burnt out from Pokemon games, maybe this is the game to try, because it's not your same formulaic thing that's
a good
been
point.
Going on for 25 years. So if like the thing that you enjoy is catching Pokemon and collecting them, then this is it, because you don't have to do the gyms. You don't have to get stuck in routes and not wanting to battle trainers and trying to figure out how to sneak past them. So yeah, maybe there's a little bit more flexibility with how you want to play this game. So maybe that's what brings them back. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I would say the only. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna just say, like we did report on that this game was getting a lot of pre-orders. Like that, it was reported that like we have more pre-orders for this game than we did for Sword and Shield. And I'd be curious of like how many people picked up their pre-orders, didn't really pay attention to anyone else playing or streaming or YouTube or anything, and then came to their own conclusion of like, oh, this is not finished, or this is unpolished, or like, I've never played a Pokemon game so buggy or ugly or chunky, versus like, now people, it's been 3 days, and if you haven't bought it, it's been almost a week. I'm losing track of time. It's been almost a week, and obviously the first 3 days sold 10 million copies. Now, are people on the fence because of that? And I think we would see that going into Black Friday and going into Christmas of, okay, you sold 10 million copies really fast because you did have a good PR cycle. You did hype it up. You did add what people wanted. People wanted co-op. People wanted an open world. People wanted to challenge gyms in a specific order. People wanted a better story, which, to be fair, I think they've delivered on the better story hands down.
It's a great story. Yeah, great stories in this game. Like hands down, I think one of the best ones in a while.
So they're giving people what they want, and then in return, we're not getting the quality. Some would argue that the quality's been down for a while, but that in itself is like enough to be like, oh, maybe I don't want this game. I don't know if, because Game Freak and the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are all Japanese companies, I don't know if them saying something would help. Maybe not so much sales. I don't think it would help sales, but I think it would put already purchased customers at a bit of ease if they're like frustrated and they want to walk away, or maybe not come back to it. I'm not sure. Yeah. But there, even with the Lumio City bug, which if you don't remember, when X and Y came out, there was a bug where if you saved in Lumio City, your game would just never boot back up again. You'd be completely locked out. Everything was bricked. You'd lose everything. So you would either have to save outside of Lumio City or inside of Pokemon Center in Lumio City, and you'd be fine. And when Twitter was a delightful, okay place, that word spread on Twitter, and people knew about it. And obviously not everyone has Twitter, but Facebook, Instagram, whatever other social medias existed when X and Y was out. At least in that case, they could say, hey, don't save in the city, and you're good until they fix it. They did fix it. It took about 2 weeks. It sucked for the people who didn't know that or didn't have social media to be able to check, but they never said anything. They just, here's the fix. In this situation, this affects everyone. There's no, like, I don't know, like I went to one of the bigger cities, and I got there and I opened my menu, wasn't doing anything. I just opened my menu to like check my Pokemon. My game crashed. Like,
oh wow.
And then another situation, I wasn't actively playing the game for 10 minutes. I had my controller down. I was interacting with my Twitch chat, and then we were having some back and forth dialogue, surprisingly about Twitter. And then I went to pick up my controller, and again went to open my menu. My whole game crashed. I'm running autosave, so not that big of a deal. But that can leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth, for sure. Of like, and again, there are tons of Pokemon fans enjoying this game. They're loving it. Myself, one of them. I can see past that, right? It's funny because somebody was like, oh, I play The Sims. I'm just used to the game being broken all the time. And I was like, oh, I had no clue. Like, I'm not in the Sims world. I didn't know that Sims 4 is like constantly broken. But as soon as somebody mentioned that, all these Sims fans came out of nowhere. They're like, oh, yeah, Sims is always broken. And I was like, oh, geez, I didn't know. I thought The Sims was a pretty rock solid game. And everyone's like, are you out of your mind? That game's broken every week. So, yeah, it'd be nice for Game Freak or Pokemon or somebody to be like, hey, these are the 5 things we're about to work on. Expect to patch in a month. I think that would go a huge way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But they've never done that. The only time I think they've addressed it was like, hey, we heard you about the National Dex. Suck it up.
Did they do anything during I'm trying to remember this. Did they do anything during BDSP? Like, 'cause I remember when that game first came out, like there was a bunch of glitches with that game. I don't remember any type of like,
no, they just silently patched it.
They did. Okay.
Yeah, because that was you could tell the patches just by speedrunners, right? Like speedrunners.
Yeah, that's
like,
exactly.
I could get the game done in 30 seconds, and then they patched it, so now it's 5 minutes. They patched it again, so now it takes like an hour.
I do want to say one quick thing about Scarlet Violet, because I know, like, and everything that people are saying, yes, valid criticisms, and we see it. It's documented on social media. We've all here experienced it, and everyone else listening probably has experienced something. I know for me, the biggest thing I want them to fix, if I had to choose one thing, is just the menu system. Like, even just boxes, like just being able to like open up your box and like navigate through your Pokemon. And for people who do even like competitive or shiny hunting or breeding, and like those icons just load really slow, and even that took me by surprise. And on a game that I'm not even thinking about 3D rendering models walking in a city, not walking out like 4 FPS, but like in a menu system when you have an icon just popping up in the squares, it takes a long time to do. To me, that's the big thing I want to see fixed. But aside from that, I think this game has it's gorgeous when it shines. I think it has, Steve, you mentioned fantastic music. I did not know this when like you go in different areas of the map, the music changes, but also the battle music changes. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon games, you get the same battle music over and over and over again. But in this game, depending on where you are in the region, that battle music changes, and I just love the little touches like that. And the stories are great. I think the Pokemon models are there's some really fun ones out there. So I think there's a lot of good going forward. But again, to your point, I just wish someone just comes out and says, and I'll wrap up with this. I'm also a Digimon fan, and I waited almost 3 years for a Digimon game to come out on the Switch. The one thing that at least that company did also was they gave updates on Twitter to the community, say, hey, the game is delayed because of this, or hey, we're working on this. A simple post like that on Twitter or on the site, I think will go a long way just to ease people's concerns with these new generations.
Yeah, because there's definitely fear that like the question is, are we even going to get like patches or fixes? And I think the answer is yes, but just the fact that people are asking that question, like just just coming out and saying we know that these things exist, we're working on it. Like even if they don't put a date on it, like that alone would just go miles. I feel like I would of course like to have a projected date, but it's not going to change anything. I'm still going to play.
Yeah, it's tough because again, I do think they made something special, and I think there is something there, and I don't. I've never thought that Game Freak is a world-class, amazing developer. I mean, look at you can point to any Pokemon game and be like, man, that was broken in this specific way. It's funny too. To end with this whole conversation, because we could keep talking about all the issues and stuff. I saw a tweet of somebody saying, "You guys are so upset about how broken Scarlet and Violet are, but you guys were so happy of how broken Red and Blue was, and y'all are forgetting about Miss and No," which is true. Literally, I cannot think of a single kid in Red and Blue came out when I was like 10 or 11. I can't think of a single kid who wasn't like, Juju the missing no glitch. You can go up and down. It destroys your game. Your menu system is broken. You have thousands of Master Balls, but like your PC is out of control. At a certain point, yeah. It just brought me back of
you ain't living, man, without the missing no.
You're not living without missing no. But it's just funny of how broken all of these games have been throughout the years. Like none of the apricorn balls worked in the Johto region when that game came out. In Diamond and Pearl, every like saving and anything revolving around save data was incredibly slow and sluggish. And I want to have faith in Game Freak because you look at something that is as bad as Diamond and Pearl. Technically, I know I'm not talking like people love Sinnoh and the Pokemon. I'm not talking about that. Technically, Diamond and Pearl are terrible. And you look at Platinum, and they did it. They they fixed everything technical about that. Well, not everything, but most things of like game runs faster, game runs smoother, saving is better. They added this feature, even like adding a little back button to the Poke Gear of like, oh, I can go backwards now. Cool. Like they did it. So hopefully I look at like, okay, well, you learned your mistakes in Diamond and Pearl and you made Platinum, and Platinum is the definite version. I don't want to wait that long though. I spent the $60. 10 million other people spent $60. I don't want to wait till Platinum. I don't want to wait till DLC. I'm okay with you saying, hey, DLC was supposed to be June. Now it's going to be August. Cool. Fix it now. Like take everyone off DLC or whatever you're doing. Put it on this. Because I want to go into the holidays being like, buy this game for your significant other, buy this game for your husband, buy this game for your kid, buy this game for your cousin. Like, I want to be able to confidently say that. Fix it now.
Get off Gen 10. We need you. We need you to come here now. Gen 9. We gotta fix it.
Get off the Gen 5 remake. Confirmed.
It's all right. We already know these stories are better than Gen 5. We got nothing to look forward to anymore.
Yeah.
Gen 5 people are in shambles. The only thing they had going for them was a good story. This one's a better story.
We win. We took the W.
Sock and Throw are not good enough to come back to Gen 5. I like Gen 5 a lot.
They are fun. They're fun.
Well, let's wrap up the show. Thank you for listening. We will be back later this week with the mini bonus episodes. I hope this was like a nice break for, hey, you can listen to something without a terrible amount of spoilers for Scarlet and Violet. And I hope you had a great holiday weekend. I was going to do, we usually end with Twitters, but Twitter is dying. So if you want to find Bob and Bev, I'll put what they prefer in the show notes. Thank you guys for being on. If you want to follow just the podcast in general, YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Tell me which Pokemon you would want to be a Squishmallow. How about that? That's a
like
good
that. That's
which
a good one.
In the comments, which Pokemon would you like to be a Squishmallow? YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, PKMNcast, all of that. Shout out to the patrons. Thank you for breaking our record for the most patrons ever. Thank you for listening. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.
Super squishy. Belly Bolt is made for Squishmallow. Just saying.